Thank you. Please announce yourself. Entry and exit tones are off. All participants are muted.
Yeah, good morning, millionaires. Good morning, millionaires. I hope everybody's feeling incredible this morning. My name is Haziq Ali. I'm a revenue acceleration expert. Our own company hit the Inc. 5000 list 2 years in a row, and now it's going to be three. And I'm just obsessed with success. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about 10 science proved ways. These are scientific. I'm about to give you science. I'm about to give you physics, not philosophy, right? These are 10 different ways that you can learn anything way, way quicker. If you're watching a replay, give me a replay, gang. And if you'd be down for giving us a testimony, please shoot me a link and say testimony. You know, shoot me a DM and say testimony. And I'm going to make sure that I get you a link so that you can let them know how you feel about Millionaire Minded, what it's done for you, what it's done for, you know, your business, your bank account, your relationship, your self-esteem. You know, we want to hear about it, and we want others to hear about it even more importantly. You know, each of us can change the world, but it takes each of us. You know what I'm saying? All you can do is enough, but you got to do all you can do. You know what I mean? The universe gives to the givers just like it takes from the takers. Okay, so enough of that. We got a lot to cover this morning, so I just want to jump into it. This is 10 different ways that you can learn anything way faster because, as we all know, learning new things is a force multiplier. In this time that we live in, when things are changing so much, appreciate that share, Crystal. Because we're living in a time where complexity is increasing, the confusion is increasing. We're sort of drowning in information, but starving for knowledge, right? It's time for us to kind of figure out what are the ways that we can adapt the quickest. We know the race doesn't go to the strongest. We know the race doesn't go to the fastest. The race always seems to go to the one who can adapt the quickest. So it's all about learning. We should always be striving to grow. We should always be striving to learn a new skill. And I don't care if you're talking about Spanish or if you want to do some kind of math real fast. It takes time to learn this stuff. Maybe you want to get better at your, you know, revenue producing activities as it comes to entrepreneurship. Here's the question. How can you make the most of your time by speeding up the learning process? How can you go further faster with less effort? You're in the Kaizen Academy. You're taking these courses where you tune in every morning for our Good Morning Millionaire show, right? But how do you hold on to this information? If you want to get a jump start on expanding your mind to match your goals, so your goals don't start to shrink to match your mind, here are 10 scientific ways that you can start being a real quick learner. You ready? All right, let's get it. Here's the first one. Take notes with pen and paper. Take notes with pen and paper. Listen, anybody that knows me knows I got these things all over the place. You know, even here in my office and whatnot, I'm just voracious with taking notes. And it might seem that typing your notes is quicker. You might be just, you know, maybe you do 80 words a minute on your laptop. And so you're listening and then the conference, or, you know, maybe you're taking notes on a podcast and you feel like if you type, you're going to get it faster. It doesn't work that way. Again, I'm talking to you from science. So humbly, in the most meek spirit I can muster, I'm suggesting to you this morning that you skip the laptop, okay? Skip the iPad and take notes the old-fashioned way. I'm talking about with a pen and paper. Research has shown that people that type in notes from their lectures retain the information at a way lower level. The people who take notes by hand actually learn more. Somebody write that in the comments. Take notes by hand and give me a share. Take notes by hand. Now, taking notes by hand is going to be slower, right? It's going to be more methodical, okay? It's going to be more cumbersome. But check it out. The act of writing out the information, it fosters comprehension. It instigates retention, because now what you're doing is using your muscle memory. You hear me? Now you're reframing the information in your own words. And now that helps you retain it a lot longer, meaning you're going to have better recall now. You hear me? Now you're going to perform better when you test it on this. Somebody say, take notes by hand and give me a share. Don't forget the share part, y'all. Don't forget the share part. The universe gives to the givers, just like it takes from the takers, right? Just like it keeps it from the people that keep it from the people. You hear what I mean? So make sure you share. That's a hack. That's a hack. Here's the number two. Here's the number two. Have effective note-taking skills, right? Because the better your notes are, the faster you're going to learn. So knowing how to take thorough and accurate notes is going to help you remember the concepts easier. It's going to help you gain a deeper understanding of the topic. You're going to start to develop meaningful learning skills. And if there's one skill that pays the bills, it's the ability to learn. So before you learn a new topic, make sure you learn different strategies for note taking. Like they got different joints. Like I always teach people about the Cornell method, right? Which if I was to take it all the way down into a simple formula, you heard me, if you've been studying with us a while, you hear me say 10-24-7. Somebody type that in the comments, 10-24-7. 10-24-7, and then give me a share. Check it out. If you study your notes for 10 minutes every 24 hours for 7 days straight, your retention will go up 80%. 10-24-7 and give me a share. 10-24-7, give me a share. Whatever method you use, I'm telling you right now, listen and take notes in your own words. Use space in between the lines so you can go back in and fill in little notes, right? You can revisit them things and then add information in. You might want to develop a consistent system of abbreviations, okay? Little shorthand that you write in, symbols that you use that always mean something to you, yeah? You might want to start writing in phrases, not complete sentences. Write in phrases, not complete sentences. Everybody with me? And then, another hack for you is make sure that you learn to pull out the important information and ignore all the extraneous stuff. Everybody with me? If you understand that formula and you're going to remember it, type in 10-24-7 and then share this with an entrepreneur. Push the share button. By the way, up there in the corner is usually something that says like, it usually says like, turn on your notifications. So click that button and turn on your notifications. That way you don't miss these classes every morning. Does that make sense? All right, here's the third one. Distributed practice. Somebody type that in. Distributed practice. What do I mean? Well, this method means that you start to distribute multiple practices of a topic over this period of time. So you're using these short, spaced out study sessions instead of cramming. Short, spaced out study sessions. Cramming just promotes what they call rote learning, which is pretty much just memorization. What you're looking to do is really understand. So that first step is to take real thorough notes while the topic's being discussed. Then afterwards, you take a minute to kind of look at your notes, right? You make any additions and you make any changes to make sure that you add in detail, you add in color, context, shading, okay? You add in extra things that you thought of. Write this down in your notes. Don't write what they said. Write what they said made you think of. Don't write what they said. Write your thoughts. That's a quicker way to write it out. Don't write what they said. Write your thoughts, okay? And then when you go through that thing, and it's soon, you can make sure that you are being accurate. How many of us have ever looked over our notes and we're like, that's not what he said at all? I'd have gone back and looked at this and wondered what the heck I was talking about, right? How many of us have looked at our notes and said, what the heck was I talking about, right? That's because you took too long to go back over them. Am I making sense? Do this quickly. Do this quickly. And then before you know it, your retention is going to speak. If you're in a college, then those little breaks in between classes are the perfect time. And then over time, you can start to spread the sessions out. Instead of once a day, now you 3 times a week with it. Now you're spacing it out over longer and longer periods of time, and it gets more and more effective because it starts to compound. You hear me? And it's way easier to do a short. If you took our class on habits, you know this already. It's way easier to do a short study session than a long one, right? Because what you need is to form the habit. Am I making sense? Here's number 4. Study, sleep, and then more study. Come on, somebody write that out. Study, sleep, and then more study. If you want to learn fast, because that's what we're talking about this morning, what science says, what the science of accelerated learning says is that sleep is one of those things that are way overlooked by most entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs do not realize what a force multiplier, what a creative advantage, what a powerful a step ahead they give themselves when they're okay with sleeping a little something, right? I know you got this big project coming up, or it's the end of the month and you really, really, really need to learn, these new skill sets so you can, create this new income that you want. Check it out. If you're not prepared and you're like many of us, what you're going to do is stay up all night. And you're like, hey, my hard work is going to be rewarded, even if I'm exhausted the next day, right? But that's wrong. That ain't the most efficient way to learn, y'all. And what the research shows is that there's a way stronger connection between sleep and learning than you ever would have believed. It seems that my teacher back at Florida A&M was absolutely correct when they taught us study in these short spurts and then take a break, take a nap. Thomas Edison would do this all the time. According to the legends, he would come up with a problem, a really strong problem. As we know, if you can define the problem, it's 80% solved, right? So what he would do is define the problem really, really clearly, and then he would take a nap. He would take a nap. He would literally sleep on it. Millionaires, deep sleep, what they call a rapid eye movement sleep, can strengthen your long-term memory. Is that powerful? Especially if the sleep occurs within 12 hours of learning that new information. So students who study and get plenty of sleep not only are better people to be around, but they perform better academically. They're also happier. You hear me? Here's number 5, y'all. Modify your practice. I know we're going kind of fast, but that's because I'm trying to give you all 10 of these right now. So, you get to watch the replay. Don't trip. But here's number 5, modify your practice, right? Whenever you're learning a new skill, don't do the same exact thing over and over and over. If you make slight changes, right? We want to adjust. We want to iterate. This is why it's important to go back and get feedback. I'm putting together a special group of entrepreneurs who, when we have these office hours, I'll be able to get feedback in real time. Okay, because that allows you to modify your practice. This is going to help you master the skill a lot quicker than doing it the same way every time. Some people say practice makes perfect. No, practice makes permanent. Practice makes permanent. And so what a horror story if you're making the wrong habit permanent, right? What you want to do is keep on adjusting, right? And they've done studies that show even people that are learning a basic motor skill, if they learn it and then they modify their practice, not a big change, but a small change. We're talking about a slight change. So if you're learning tennis, maybe you change the weight of the racket. If you're learning golf, maybe you change the club you're playing with, right? If you're learning network marketing, maybe you change the icebreaker you use. If you always use the same line on your coworkers, maybe you switch it up today, right? The point is these slight changes add massive improvement to how fast you can learn. Here's number 6. Try a mnemonic device. I don't expect you to be able to know how to spell that, but you know what it is. Remember when you learned your alphabets and it was like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? That's a mnemonic device. And that's why most of us, even though we learned that when we were in kindergarten or even before that, we can still remember the whole song. One of the best ways to memorize a large amount of information quickly, because that's 26 letters, man. You can't remember 8. You can't remember 8 numbers. That's why they have phone numbers with 7 numbers. You can't remember 8 numbers. How the heck you remember 26 letters when you were a little kid? It's called a mnemonic device, right? So what is that? That's like a pattern of letters or a pattern of sounds or any kind of association that helps you to build upon things that you already have. When I'm talking about the 6 faculties of the mind, I always remember it with WIP-RIM. WIPRIM. I don't know what that means, but it's a mnemonic device that works for me because now I remember the 6 faculties of the mind are will, intuition, perception, reason, imagination, and memory. And the reason I remember that is because of a mnemonic device. I hope that helps you. I hope you use it. Here's number 7. Use brain breaks to restore your focus. Use brain breaks. Information overload is a real thing, y'all. A person's coachability changes between, whether they're hungry or they're full, whether they're tired or they just now woke up. Your coachability, your ability to learn this information, it changes throughout the day. It fluctuates. Okay. If you've taken our habits class in the Kaizen Academy, you saw this fascinating study we showed you, kind of chopping it up about how, the judge would be much more apt to give a parole to the prisoner that came in front of the judge if it was early in the morning, right? And then it would start to slope down, slope down, slope down. The more hungry and frustrated the judge got, nobody's getting parole, nobody's getting parole. Then lunchtime, boom, it shoots back up. The probability gets way high again that all of a sudden you might get parole. And then as he starts to get more tired, well, that's all of us. What does that say? That says breaks matter, y'all. Breaks matter. Information overload is a real thing. So if you want to learn something new, your brain got to send signals to your sensory receptors to save that new information. But if you're tired, it don't happen. If you add a little stress, it starts to mess it up. It starts to overload the signals. This is why we teach you breathing exercises, right? This is why we teach you to be able to center yourself, practice mindfulness. Maybe you even get you an Oculus so you can surround yourself in some kind of hypnotic inducing environment. Y'all up on the Oculus? We all up on our VR? Ask somebody for some VR for Christmas. It's trippy, but who knows? It may help. When we're confused, right? We're anxious. When we feel overwhelmed, our brains just shut down, right? You see this happen in your children. You see this happen in students when they're listening too long and then they just zonk out. And all of a sudden, your words are plinking off their forehead and falling on the ground, right? They've zoned out on you. They simply aren't able to effectively conduct that information into their brains, into their memory bank. So the learning just shuts down. So the best way for you to combat this is by taking brain breaks or putting brain breaks into it, simply shifting your activity to focus on something new, right? Even a 5-minute break can help you relieve a lot of that pressure and stress. You may stand up and do some jumping jacks. You may throw on a quick YouTube video with some comedy segment. Anything that will allow you to relieve that brain fatigue will matter. Here's number 8, y'all. Here's number 8. And this one sounds sort of like real simple, but stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. We know we should drink water because it's good for our skin. We know we should drink water because it's good for our immune system. It keeps our body functioning optimally. But did you know that keeping your brain hydrated, this thing that takes up like something crazy, I don't want to say the statistics wrong, so I won't. But if you look it up, you'll discover your brain, even though it's like a couple ounces, takes up some crazy amount of the water that you use, right? And so, according to one study, students that took water with them to the exam room when they were taking a test performed way better than those who didn't. Being hydrated matters. Dehydration will seriously affect your mental function. When you fail to drink water, your brain has to work harder. All right, here's number 9. Here's number 9. Learn information in multiple ways. When you use multiple ways to learn something, whether it's a language or, speed reading, you get to really accelerate the speed that you begin to make connections, right? You'll start to use more regions of your brain to get familiar with this information, right? And that makes the information more embedded. It basically creates almost like a redundancy of the knowledge so that now you're able to, instead of just memorize it, you're able to truly learn it, right? Now you can do this through spaced repetition. Okay, you can use different media to stimulate that thing. Maybe you read it in a textbook, but then you read some article on the subject. And then maybe you find some hashtag about it on social media. Okay, and then after that, you listen to a podcast or some kind of audio file, some kind of ebook or audio book somebody put out on the subject, right? The more resources you use, the faster you're going to learn. Am I making sense? Or am I going too fast? Well, we made it to the end, y'all. Here's before I give you number 10, check it out. If you haven't joined the newsletter yet, this is a great time to do it. Go to millionaireminded.com and join the newsletter. If you don't get our mindset newsletter, you are missing out. Every single week, it gives you a section on mindset, a section on skill set, and then a section on heart set, right? So it's that mindset part so you can acknowledge the resources around you. It's the skill sets, you can nurture them, and then it's the heart sets you can cherish and feel grateful and raise your vibration, because everything you want is just on a higher vibration waiting for you. You know what I'm saying? Whether that is something that you didn't understand or it's something that you didn't appreciate. You get what I mean? Everything you want is going to come to you because that's what you expect. You hear me? All of a sudden, your actions start to be the actions of somebody who expects this thing. So it's deep, but it's interconnected. And even though it's not easy, it is simple. All right? Shameless plug over. Here's number 10, y'all. Connect what you learn with something you already know. The brain works on comparison. So number 10 is connect what you learn with something you already know, because the brain works on comparison. Somebody type that in the comments and give me a share. The brain works on comparison. The number 77 means nothing to you. It's too abstract. It doesn't mean anything until I compare it to the number 17. Or I compare it to the number 3,000. You get what I'm saying to you? That's like your brain. Tony Robbins, I remember I was watching some interview and he was talking about the way he learns things is almost like, so how is the universe like an orange? Right? And people like Elon Musk, they praise this form of learning. Like Elon Musk's whole thing is that first you got to learn the trunk, and then you got to learn the branches. Otherwise, the leaves ain't going to have nothing to connect to. Isn't that ill? So what I'm saying to you is that what you want to try and do is connect what you learn with something you already know. I hope this was helpful to you this morning. I hope that you teach this to somebody else. If you want to get it better into your own mind, if you want to learn it really fast, 4 things you can do real quick. F is for join our Facebook group. Right? Join our Facebook group. It's called Entrepreneurishment. If you search it or ask somebody else that told you about this, they'll plug you in with the Facebook group. The A is apply it. One of the fastest ways to apply it is to kind of like write down in your notes one action item that you're going to grab from out of everything we learned today. S is subscribe. Turn on your notifications so that way we can begin to give you these messages in repeatedly different ways and different patterns. And then the T is teach somebody else. If you know, like I know, one of the best ways to learn a subject is to teach it to somebody. So maybe you take the note page and you put your biggest takeaway in the notes. I love you all. I hope this was helpful. It's affirmation time. Repeat after me. Say it like you mean it. I am so happy and grateful